Hi, first graders. Today we are starting our new CKLA domain, and it is called Animals and Habitats. Our lesson for today is called What is a Habitat? Our learning targets are to distinguish between living and non-living things. We are going to explain what a habitat is. We're going to demonstrate an understanding of the word shelter. We're going to identify characteristics of a particular habitat. And then you are going to record observations about food and shelter in the habitat surrounding you. Our key vocabulary are habitat, shelter, survive. Habitat is a noun, and a habitat is a place where an animal or plant lives that has food, water, and shelter. The forest is a deer's natural habitat. Shelter. Shelter is a noun, and a shelter is something that protects from weather or danger. During the thunderstorm, we sat in the car for shelter so we wouldn't get wet. Survive. Survive is a verb, and survive means to stay alive. Humans need food and water to survive. How do we know if something is living and not living, or not living? Think about things that are living and things that are non-living. What are some of the characteristics? All living things need food and water. People, plants, and animals are all living things because they all need food and water to stay alive. Most living things also grow and change during their lives and do not always look the same. Living things can also reproduce or make new living things that look like them. Non-living things do not need food or water because they are not alive. Living things generally live in a place that is just right for them. Just right means perfect or a good fit. Remember our key vocabulary. We have habitat, shelter, and survive. I want you to listen carefully and look at the pictures to find out more about why plants and animals live where they do. Greetings, fellow adventurers. You are here to learn something new, and believe it or not, I'm here to teach it to you. I know you may be wondering what you could possibly learn from a rat climbing out of a dumpster, but I am Rattenborough, the famous rat adventurer. I travel the world looking at plants and animals and all the different places they call home. I'm going to take you on a special adventure all around the world. You are going to learn about some amazing and incredible places and animals, and we are going to start our exciting journey right here. I know. It doesn't look like much, but it's special to me, and it has everything I need. Welcome to my home. This is the alleyway where I live. Take a look around. What do you see? I see some trash. There's probably some food in that trash. What do you think? And I see maybe some water puddles. Okay. There are trash cans, litter, boxes, drains, and dripping pipes, old buildings and gutters. It's a perfect home for a rat. It has everything I need to live. All living things need food and water to survive. Survive means to stay alive. Animals, like me, also need shelter. A shelter is something that protects from weather or danger. A house or an apartment can be a shelter. A tree can also be a shelter. So, animals need food, water, and shelter to stay alive. My food comes from these trash cans and the litter on the street. My water comes from the gutters, drains, and pipes. And my family and I have a shelter down under the steps nearby. All of these things make up my habitat. A habitat is a place where an animal or plants live that has food, water, and shelter. It's true that my home, the alleyway, is not considered a natural habitat like a forest or a pond, but with so many humans using up so much of the Earth's natural resources, some animals have been forced to survive in human-made habitats. So what are the three things animals need to survive? Food, water, and shelter. If a place lacks any of these three things, then it is not a good habitat. Animals and plants usually live in habitats that are just right for them. Just as people can't live underwater or in the air, plants and animals can't all live in the same sorts of places. You don't hear about elephants living in the North Pole on all that ice, and you definitely don't hear about polar bears living in the desert. Pumpkins don't grow in the sea, and fish don't live in trees. I can tell you firsthand that rats can't just live anywhere in the world. I don't like the weather to be too cold, and I need to live in a place where food is easy to find. That's why I like my cozy little shelter under the steps. It is warm enough for me and my family. There is always plenty of water, and there is always a good supply of food in the trash. Let's look around. You might have a park like this somewhere near your neighborhood. People like to spend time playing and relaxing in this park, but it's a habitat for many other things too. The grasses, the trees, the flowers, and the bushes in the park need food and water to live. The animals that live in the park share it as a habitat. That includes pigeons that fly around looking for crumbs to eat, the squirrels, owls, chipmunks that live in those trees, the bees, fireflies, and mosquitoes buzzing about, the raccoons and opossums that come out at night, and even the frogs and the fish in the pond nearby. Okay. Where do you think that these animals might find food, water, and shelter in a park habitat? Where might they be able to get their food from? Think about what kind of people or what kind of living creatures go to the park. People. Do you think there are trash cans probably with food in it? Yeah. I don't know about you, but I've definitely seen a raccoon and I've definitely seen a squirrel in a trash can before getting some food out. And I know that birds like to eat crumbs. Their shelters could be trees, right? Or the ground. And then they could get their water from puddles or a pond or a stream or a creek, right? This is a picture of a place called the Arctic. Do you think you could live easily in the Arctic with its very cold temperatures and snow-covered ground? Not many things can live there, but later I'm going to show you some incredible plants and animals that do live in the Arctic. What do you see in this picture? Most animals have to live in habitats that are specific to them, but you human beings are very clever. You can build habitats for yourselves. If you want to live in the desert where there isn't much water with which to grow food or to drink, you can build a pipeline to bring you water for watering crops or for drinking. You can have food transported to the desert by road or rail because it would be difficult to grow food in the desert. And you can build houses for shelter so you don't have to sleep in the sand. So we heard about the ancient Egyptians and the Mesopotamians living in the desert in the Middle East. Do you remember how they farmed and how they grew crops so that they could survive in the desert? What did they build? It started with a k. They built canals, right? In those canals, they did what? They would bring the water from the rivers to the crops, right? To the soil. In fact, people like you have been able to live in extremely hot, cold, and dry places. We are going on an adventure that will take us all over our amazing planet Earth. Over the next several weeks, I'm going to show you some of the fascinating animal and plant habitats that might be quite different from yours. You'll see some wonderful and unusual places where things can live. I can't wait to show you all these interesting places, but first I have a lot to pack because we are going all over the world. I'm going to need a backpack full of gear. So hold on to your whiskers, your hats, and get ready for a marvelous adventure. Okay, it's time for our comprehension questions and word work. If you need to hop up and take a break, go ahead and do that and then come right back for our questions. Okay, what is a habitat? A habitat is a place where animals or plants live, and that habitat has to have three things. What three things do they need? Food, water, and shelter. Can you describe Rattenborough the rat? Can you describe his habitat? Let's talk about his shelter. Well, where did he live? Under the steps in the alley. And where did he get his food from? the trash cans or the litter that people left. And what about water? Where did he get water from? Pipes, right? Drains, puddles. Would Rattenborough be able to live in his habitat without food, water, or shelter? No. Why not? Because he's a living thing, and all living things have to have water, food, and shelter in order to survive or to live. If he didn't have those things, he couldn't be alive. So why can't all plants and animals live wherever they want, wherever in the world? Why couldn't a polar bear live in the desert? Because they have to live in a place that has the right kind of food, water, and shelter for them, right? So animals need to live in a place that is just right for them. A polar bear couldn't live in the desert because it would be too hot for the polar bear, right? So that wouldn't be a good shelter. The area would not be, the climate wouldn't be good, okay? And a fish couldn't live in a tree because fish need water. That's where they breathe, okay? Describe your habitat. What's your habitat? Where's your shelter? Might be your house, or if you live in an apartment, it might be an apartment, or a townhome, or a condo, maybe a mansion. If you have a mansion, let me know. I'll come live with you. I'll move in. Where do you find food? My guess is somebody probably helps you with your food. There's probably someone at home who makes you food. But where do they get their food from? We get it from the grocery store, okay? And the grocery stores get it from farms. And what about our water? Where do we get our water from? I can tell you where I get my water from. It's right there. I get my water from the sink. But you could also buy water bottles, okay? How is your habitat the same or different from Rattenborough's habitat? Do we live under stairs? I would hope not. I hope you don't live under the stairs in the alleyway. What about our food? Do you get food from the trash cans? I hope not. That'd be yucky. Do you drink water from puddles? Ugh, yuck. Nope. I hope that would not be good. Don't do that. All right, so now we're going to move on for our word work. Our word is shelter. In the read aloud, you heard that animals need food, water, and shelter to stay alive. I want you to say the word shelter with me. Ready? Shelter. Now I want you to say it in a whisper voice. Shelter. Now I want you to say it in Rattenborough's voice. Shelter. Okay. A shelter is something that protects from weather or danger. The two friends looked for shelter when it began to rain. All right, I'm going to name a few items and you should decide if it could be a shelter or not. If you think it could be a shelter, you're going to say, that's a shelter. And if you don't think it could be a shelter, say, that's not a shelter. A house. That's a shelter. A pencil. That's not a shelter. A school. That's a shelter. It would keep you, it would protect you from weather or danger. A cave. That's a shelter. It would also protect you from weather or danger. What about a chair? No, a chair is not a shelter. Okie doke. Let's see here. So, did we talk about the difference between living and non-living things? Absolutely. Did we talk about what a habitat is? Mm-hmm. Did we talk about the word shelter? Yes, we did. Did we talk about the characteristics of our habitat? We did. We talked about where we lived. We talked about where we got our food from, where we got our water from, and what our shelter is. So for our assignment, you're going to finish up the Nearpod, and then I want you to just give me, I guess it would be 3 sentences You're going to tell me about your habitat. So you're going to tell me about your shelter. You're going to tell me about where you get your food. You're going to tell me about where you get your water. Okay? 3 sentences. All right, friends. See you next time.